Let's talk about strategy for a couple of minutes. And so you've heard me talk about strategy as safely delivering cleaner, affordable, reliable energy for our customers. And it's probably best to think of that as more of a strategic statement, because of course there's a lot of other things that go into a full strategy. But I think it really does capture a lot of the things that we've all been focused on, that we've all collectively been working on. And it's really been driving our growth for many, many years. At Nova Scotia Power, of course, for the last 15 years, we've been investing and making investments to reduce the carbon intensity of the generation mix, to improve reliability, and to do all of that without putting undue pressure on the cost of energy for our customers. And in the last 3 or 4 years, it's true for all of the Tampa Electric, Peoples Gas, and New Mexico Gas companies as well. Investing to cleaner and affordable and reliable energy for our customers. And that theme is just as relevant today, maybe even more so than it was 15 years ago when we started the journey of that strategy. And so that strategy is in many ways pretty simple, right? You could think of that as a relevant strategy for any utility today, thinking about cleaner, affordable, reliable energy delivered safely. But it's worked because it's largely based on what our customers want and expect from us. And so providing cleaner energy, doing it at a pace that's not putting undue pressure on cost, because if you go really fast, it's going to cost more suddenly. Doing it while at the same time working to improve reliability, and doing so safely, keeping our team safe, keeping our customers safe, of course, and keeping the public safe. And these things that our customers are looking for, driving these trends that you may have heard me talk about before, decarbonization, of course, but also decentralization and digitalization. These are all things that our customers are driving these trends. And we see it showing up in many ways. Of course, we're seeing governments in many places, including where we operate, get more aggressive in terms of their climate policies and carbon reduction policies. Our customers are looking for more choice and control, and they're expecting their energy to be always on because they're using it more and using it differently than they have in the past. Our investors are increasingly putting pressure and looking at sustainability and ESG, environmental, social, and governance, as being a factor in their investment decisions. And of course, we're seeing movements across the globe around climate change and climate activism. And so we could look at those trends and see them as disruptive, as providing or representing some risk to our business or to the industry. But I think with our strategy and the work that you're all doing, that we're all doing, they're actually opportunities instead, and that's how we're using them. So let me give you an example. If you look today at the places where we're investing our capital, by far away, this is sort of over the next 3 years, by far and away the largest component of the capital that we're investing in things to make energy cleaner for our customers. And the next biggest thing that we're investing in is investments to make energy more reliable, to improve the reliability of the energy that we're delivering for customers. These are the investments that our customers are expecting us to make, but these investments are also what's driving our growth. So when we think about the decarbonization, there's many different places that we can invest in decarbonization. And of course, it can take many different forms and can depend upon where we are as it relates to the areas of focus. Of course, it means investing in renewables. So it's wind in Nova Scotia, it's solar in the south, in the Caribbean, and in Tampa. But it's also investing in transmission in order to bring that cleaner energy to where it's needed. But it's even relevant in our natural gas businesses, where we can invest in repairing and upgrading our pipe infrastructure in order to reduce emissions. We can be investing in CNG, compressed natural gas, in order to decrease the carbon intensity of customers in the transportation sector. Investing in renewable natural gas systems. These are all examples of investing in decarbonization that's happening across the business. And we've got lots of active projects. I've referenced some of them already, of course. The first 600 megawatts of solar in Tampa, $850 million of investment, 6 million solar panels. Almost 90% of that is now in service. The last 50 megawatts will be in service in the next 10 months or so. And they've just announced another 600 megawatts of solar that they plan to invest in and to provide to their customers over the next 3 or 4 years. So in just 4 years, Tampa Electric has gone from virtually no solar in its system to now almost 600 megawatts and soon 1,200 megawatts, which is the most solar intensity of any investor-owned utility in the state of Florida. Just a remarkable transition. Similarly, the Big Bend Modernization Project, and I'm starting obviously with all the largest projects, but also about an $800 million project to retire one of the 4 coal units at Big Bend Station and to take another one of the coal units and to convert it from coal to high efficiency natural gas. That work will reduce the carbon intensity of Big Bend Station by over 30%. And when the work is all done, by 2003, the carbon intensity of Tampa Electric will have reduced by 45% relative to 2005 levels. Similarly, in New Mexico right now, New Mexico Gas has a rate case in front of its regulator, and a lot of the investments that are part of that rate case are centered around carbon reduction. New Mexico Gas is putting solar panels on some of its facilities. It's investing in compressed natural gas, and it's repairing and replacing older pipe in order to, again, reduce those carbon emissions. Peoples Gas is doing the same thing, and in fact, just over the last few weeks, approved its first renewable natural gas project, which is also really exciting. Here in Nova Scotia, of course, by 2019, last year, have already achieved a 35% reduction in carbon emissions relative to 2005 levels. That's more than what was set as a for Canada at the COP21 climate conference just a few years ago. Just a remarkable achievement. But in fact, once Muskrat Falls energy is flowing, will be almost a 60% reduction from 2005 levels. One of the fastest transitions to renewable energy in Canada. But the fact remains, both here in Nova Scotia and in Tampa, once all this work is done, there will still be coal generation in the fleet. There's still more work to do. And those are the things that teams are working on, and those are the things that will continue to drive growth for Emera as we continue to decarbonize the generation mix over the years to come. We're also, of course, decarbonizing in the Caribbean. Barbados has set an extraordinarily ambitious goal of 100% renewable by 2030. And in support of that, there's a lot going on. Of course, the first utility-scale solar project that we in the Emera family did was in Barbados. The first utility-scale battery project that we did at Emera was in Barbados. There's much more of that that's ahead. They're also now planning the first wind project in Barbados. But importantly, this transition to renewable, it still needs some support in terms of a form of system stability and energy. And so one of the things that's happening is also investing in what's called the Clean Energy Bridge project, which is still a thermal-based energy generation project, but really important from a reliability perspective and will enable that transition to 100% renewable over time. But importantly, also helping to address some reliability challenges in Barbados. And late in 2019, there were 2 successive island-wide blackouts, island-wide outages in Barbados that, of course, attracted a lot of attention, media, government, and customers. The Clean Energy Bridge project will help to ensure that doesn't happen again. And I would like to extend a thank you and recognition to the team in Barbados who, through very difficult circumstances, worked to put the power back on and then keep it on. And, of course, continuing in that effort today. So thank you. Now, reliability has always been a focus, and it is across all of our utilities. But of course, as we see the impacts of climate change, we're starting to see more and more extreme and severe weather conditions. And so it's increasingly challenging, this focus on reliability. But it's also increasingly important to our customers because, as I say, they're using energy differently than they were before, and an expectation that that energy is going to be always on. And so that reliability focus is also providing us an opportunity to invest and to grow. And in fact, in some jurisdictions, in Florida, for example, there's recently passed legislation that is requiring the utilities to invest in reliability-based projects with rate mechanisms in order to support that investment. But as we think about reliability, of course, we think about Hurricane Dorian, which had an impact across almost all of our businesses, but nowhere more severe than in Grand Bahama. And while for most of us, Hurricane Dorian is an event of the past, the team in Grand Bahama is still working every day to restore power to its customers. And today we have about 90% of customers back online. The remaining 10% aren't ready for power yet, and the team is working to restore power when they are, particularly to the east end of the island, which was the most severely damaged by the storm. The team is working on solutions in order to do that. But as they were doing the restoration, they were also doing storm hardening, putting in higher class poles, shortening the spans between poles to be better prepared for the next storm. Now, the fact is our focus on decarbonization and even reliability is something that we've been doing for a long time, and we're doing it everywhere. There's lots of examples, many of which I gave. The theme around decentralization and what that means to us is newer. And what is decentralization? Well, it's really decentralization of the energy generation, the distributing the energy, moving away from large centralized units to generation units that's more regionally based or community based, or even, of course, in some cases, singular residentially based, like rooftop solar. And we're still working to understand the implications of that for our business over the long term. Everyone in the industry is. No one really knows what that means in the long term for our business. But we are making investments today to better understand and better position us for that decentralized and digitalized energy future. And so within our regulated utilities, for example, here in Nova Scotia, for a little while now, there has been a pilot project where we've installed Tesla batteries in customers' homes and connected them with a substation that also has battery storage backup to it, and understanding how that works through changes in the system and storms and outages in order to think about how can we use battery storage in a more broader way across the business that I know the team is thinking about. In Tampa Electric, of course, is a community solar program going on where customers can elect to receive a certain portion of their electricity from solar-generated electrons. And across all of our utilities, we're working on rate design to make sure that rates are fair for all customers of all kinds. But we're also doing some things outside of our existing utilities. And you may remember me talking about Emera Technologies, which is focused on a DC-based microgrid. Now, this is groundbreaking technology that Emera, a team at Emera, has built from the ground up, working in partnership with Sandia National Labs, and now has a live working demonstration project at Kirtland Air Force Base in Albuquerque, New Mexico. No one else is doing this yet. And it's working, and we're really excited about it. And we're not the only ones excited about it. We've got a number of customers who are now excited about it. So stay tuned on this one. I think good things ahead. The team is working really hard to demonstrate what leadership Emera can provide in the field of distributed energy. We're also looking at how customers use products in a different way. So we acquired a small company called Grand HVAC, who is focused on providing customers with energy-related products direct to the customer on a leased basis. And so we're looking at this company in a way to explore what does a behind-the-meter type opportunities, what could that look like in a decentralized world for Emera in the future. So we're also excited about what that can do and bring for us. Now, digitalization is a trend that we can all relate to, right? We're seeing that in every interface that we have, and it's having impact across our business, across all businesses today. In our ops, we're using that today or exploring it in a number of different ways. We're using drones, of course, to assess our transmission and distribution lines in both the electric and the gas businesses. We're now using, this is newer, we're now using drones and satellite imagery and special programming to assess these vast fields of solar panels that we now have, to assess the condition and the operation of those solar panels. We're using predictive analysis to make more informed maintenance decisions. We now have some bots underway. Anybody in the room know what a bot is? So these are automation bots, and so in Tampa Electric we have a bot underway, which is really a fancy way of saying a software application that's programmed to automate a highly repetitive task, and it's being used today in the credit and collections team in Tampa in order to keep up with a high volume of manual work related to identifying and minimizing customer fraud. And I heard recently they've named this bot, I think, hopefully I've got this right, Franny the Fraud Finder. And they have 2 new bots in testing as well, and I think this will be something that we'll see more and more. They're looking at sort of the online customer move-in process and how they can automate that and speed the service process for customers. And of course, we've got smart meters going in across the business, and then teams focused on how do we use the massive amounts of data that we're going to collect from these smart meters. And of course, many digital initiatives around customer services solutions. But there's an area where you think about it where, the fact is most of our customers are also shopping online with Amazon, and they're calling cabs with Uber. And so they're seeing digital experiences that are far and away beyond what we're in a position to do now. And so these are things that we need to continue to focus on in order to find our way in our strategy in this increasingly digitalized world. And so one of the things that we recently announced is created a new position, Chief Digital Officer, that Chris Heck has recently joined us. Chris was most recently the Chief Information Officer for a much larger utility that many will know, Duke Energy. And Chris, one of the primary focuses for Chris is working with our operations teams in order to develop what all this means to us. What is our digital strategy, our digital vision, and a roadmap to execute on all of that. So we're excited about that work ahead. All to say, this strategic focus that we've got, our strategy and the focus is work that's not only aligned with those trends that we're seeing, decarbonization, decentralization, and digitalization, they're also the drivers of our growth and what's going to continue to drive our growth in the years ahead. And so I'm encouraged about where we're at. And I think that we have this strategy that has been time tested. We have a very solid portfolio. We have a fantastic team of people. And I think we're building a company that will not only be well positioned to succeed in this new decarbonized, decentralized, and digitalized future energy economy, but also I think we're having a hand in shaping it. And I'm really excited about that.